that is going to reduce significantly when this is fully dry, but already with just half of it dry, it is so much less.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Nick, and today I'm getting started again on my 1966 Thunderbird project. So with this car, which I've had for about 6 months now, I've had a couple setbacks, some time management problems, and just in general, I could make a bunch of excuses, but I'm not going to. It's my fault I haven't got this thing done, so I'm gonna work on that right now. We are gonna get the interior finished in this thing this week. You can see I have this door panel still not back on, but it is pretty much refinished. Might have a tiny bit of touch-up left, but more importantly than that is I've got to finish sound deadening this interior. If you've watched any of my other videos on this car, you know that this car sat in a field in Hamul, California, half under a carport, and was massively rodent infested for about 20 years. And then a friend of mine picked the car up about 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. He started taking it apart, butchered the electrical, did a bunch of stuff, and I've slowly been working on getting it towards back together. One of the things that my buddy did before I bought the car from him was he actually had all of the upholstery redone on this thing. And while that might seem like fairly trivial, that was one of the things that made this car worth buying to me. That and the fact that the car is extremely complete. There's little bits of hardware that I've had to source here and there, but overall this thing is extremely complete, and basically everything worked when the car was parked. So in the process of getting the rats removed, I have had this 390 Ford FE sit and idle a couple of times. I've done some figuring out of wires. I've got the starter relay back where it goes, done a bunch of little things. It's real dusty right now, but I refinished the dash in this car. And I'm changing this color scheme a little bit. It was beige and brown, and we're going to beige and black now. Mostly it was beige, and it was honestly just overwhelming for me to think of sitting in a white car when I'm such a clumsy, greasy guy. So the main thing that I'm working on tackling right now is all of the sound deadening and stuff. I've already peeled some of it up. I've got more to do. I'm gonna be finishing stuff with a wire brush on a drill attachment, and maybe some other couple little tricks to remove some of this sound deadening and some of this nasty adhesive and stuff. Once I get that done, this thing's getting at least 2 coats of HeatShield Products DB Skin, which is a liquid sound deadening material, adds a little bit of thickness to the panel, adds some thermal resistance to keep you cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter, and just in general is gonna make this a lot nicer to ride in. I also have some cheap butyl and foil traditional sound deadener that I'm gonna throw on all the spots where the factory had it. And then I'm gonna get the seats in this thing, get the electrical hooked back up, get the center console in. I have a brand new black carpet kit for it that came with the car. So I'm super excited. I've got a lot of cool stuff to put in this interior, and I think it's gonna be really cool when I get it there. So I'm excited to get this finished. In order to really do a good job with sound deadening and sealing the floor, the most important step is prep. So in order to prep well, I've got to remove all of this factory sound deadening so that I can put my HeatShield Products DB Skin sealer coat on. That's going to add just a little bit of thickness to the floor everywhere. And then I have some budget sound deadening that's going to go on the floor, and it's going to make this car super, super quiet inside for not too much money. So I want that HeatShield product to really stick well. That stuff works phenomenally. It adds a little bit of thickness to the panel. It doesn't weigh too much. It provides some thermal insulation. But in order to get it to do that well, I need to remove all of this stuff. I gotta at least touch up where all this adhesive and stuff is with a wire brush. And then I'm going to be vacuuming and wiping down the whole floor. Everywhere where I'm going to coat or put sound deadener is going to get wiped down with rubbing alcohol. So I'm going to continue this. In previous videos and in past work, I've already done a bunch of it. And the truth is, there are a couple tricks you can do. Dry ice can freeze this and make it more brittle and easier to pop off. There's some stuff, but when it really comes down to it, it's just brute force. That's how you do stuff like this. So I've got a putty knife, and we're going to scrape away at it. Okay, so with a couple hours into grinding all this stuff down, I've got it vacuumed out pretty well. Most of the dust and stuff out. I'm gonna give it a quick wipe down with a couple microfibers and some acetone or lacquer thinner, whatever I have on hand. And then I'm actually gonna give this whole thing, the whole floor, a quick coat of paint. I've got some Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer, and it actually looks pretty decent on camera, but there's just some very light surface rust in some places here that I wanna get ahead of. I definitely could prep this better than I have, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. The floor pans are super solid, so I'm gonna roll with this. Couple coats of paint, call the prep good enough, and then do some sound deadening. All right, this is still drying, but I got a coat of Rust-Oleum down. I ran out of the Rust Reformer, so most of it's just regular paint. Some of it's Rust Reformer with regular paint over it. This is not well prepped. I'm not super proud of this, but it's dark and I am losing my light. So I gotta rush through this. I don't have a ton of time to work on this. This is a weekday, after work kind of project. And I really wanna get it on the road and running because I have enough other projects in my life, and I really enjoy working on stuff like this, but I would rather it be kind of maintenance and or upgrade stuff rather than complete restoration at this point. Okay, so right now I'm really excited to show you this product that I'm gonna be applying as my first layer of sound deadener on the floor and in a few other spots, nooks and crannies in the T-Bird, and that is HeatShield Products DB Skin. Now, I gotta shout out my buddy Parker, who is on Instagram at Piston Peeps. He used this in his 1965 Mustang project, and he passed some of the extra that he had along to me. I think this is gonna be enough to do one, probably two good coats. This is a brush on or roll on product, and it works really, really well. I've seen it used on Parker's car. I've seen it used on my buddy Craig's trucks, and this stuff dries hard, it goes on relatively thick, and it really does a lot to dampen noise and also control some of the heat entering the cabin. This does a ton to make the car quieter, more comfortable, and will definitely provide you a layer of insulation in terms of heat entering the car in the summer or heat leaving the car when you're trying to warm it up in the winter. So I have a can I'm going to show you, and for comparison I'm going to leave this microphone right here pointed at the can in the exact same spot so that you can hear the before and after difference. This is before, and after I apply the HeatShield product, it's going to sound like this. So what's really happened here is this material, this DB Skin, has added a skin, a thickness to the panel. And when you increase the thickness of a panel, you lower its resonant frequency. When you lower its resonant frequency, instead of getting that high-pitched tinny sound when you ding it, you get a much lower sound and it doesn't ring for as long. Now that doesn't seem like it would be useful, but what this translates to in the real world is that your high-pitched sounds are no longer going to go through the panel. Your medium-pitched sounds are no longer going to go through the panel. You're essentially lowering the noise floor, and if you have enough of something like DB Skin on the panel, you lower the noise floor so much that it's below the range at which we can hear, and that can make the vehicle really, really comfortable to ride in. Okay, well now I've got this HeatShield product stuff all over my hands, and it definitely dries hard, and it's drying faster on my skin than it did in the car. Let me show you what we've got going on. I got a pretty thick coat on. I use a lot of this stuff in this interior. I tried to go heavy. I'm gonna come back probably tomorrow and do another coat, and that coat will be focused on the wheel well arches up here and these big flat areas and the transmission tunnel, the flat part of the floors, but I also want to get in some nooks and crannies. You can see where all those wires are. I didn't get that side, so I'll flop those down and do that tomorrow. Overall, pretty good progress right here, though. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm about to wrap this video up right here. In the next video, I'll have all this sound deadening completely finished. I'm not going to go over all of that in detail because I've done it before, but what I'm super excited for you to be able to see is the center console going in, and I'm going to have all the electrical hooked up, test everything, make sure pretty much everything works, so I can throw the rest of the interior in the car and get moved on to engine, brakes, suspension, all that stuff, and get this thing on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on the Lug Nut Lang channel.